Welcome to Fashion, Faith, and Flair, and today's fashion message is transforming your clothing style starts with transforming your spirit. Our inside affects our outside. How we show up in the world is both inner and external beauty. As humans, we are made in the image and likeness of God, and we're wonderfully made. Our outward appearance can be a reaction of the condition of our inside spirit. I can speak from experience. As someone who has weighed over 300 pounds during my Christian walk, my spirit was definitely hurting, and my body reflected it. Not only was I abusing my body with food, I was trying to cover it up with shame by wearing clothing 3 sizes too big. And the Spirit of Christ was well hidden in my disease. I was living a self-absorbed life without being a service to others. God has called us to be a blessing to others as He has blessed us. Now, there's a transformation scripture. Matthew 17, 1 through 2 says, "After 6 days, Jesus took with Him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There He was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and His clothes became as white as the light." The definition of transfigured is to change an outward form or appearance. My transformation started when I humbly asked God for forgiveness and turned my will and my life over to Him again and again and again. And what I mean by that is that I had a spiritual experience with God when I was in my 20s. And throughout my Christian walk, I'm 59 now, there have been times when I have gone back to God. I've left God. I've gone back to God. I've left God. I've gone back to Him. And you might be asking, well, Cindy, if you had a spiritual experience when you were 22, didn't it take? Of course it took. Of course it did. But because I have the free will to be able to turn my back on God, which in a way is a blessing and can be a curse. At least it's been a curse in my life. And I mean that just joking around. Honestly, I'm grateful that we're not a bunch of robots and that we're forced to be in a relationship with Christ. I can only speak on my own experience, and I have had difficult times in my life like every other person. We all have problems. Things happen, whether it's happenstance or we contributed to it. Obviously, I contributed to my food addiction. I can't blame that on anyone. What I can tell you is that when I have been through hard times, God's arms have always been open to me. And when I think about the last time this happened, I remember the return to Jesus moment. I felt a strong presence of the Holy Spirit, and my entire demeanor changed. And shortly after I had this experience, I remember at the time I was working as a tech analyst for a company, and one of my colleagues who was a Christian saw the change in me because she knew me only during the time when I'd shut God out of my life. And so she saw the change in me. She didn't see the 22-year-old that had that first experience with God. She saw me as a mature adult and where I was at. And once I felt like I could return to God, I had to humble myself. And God is always loving and open, and He never forsakes or leaves us. And He has those open arms. And so anyway, shortly after that experience, she remarked to me, she could see a change in me. She could see the light in my eyes. And I remember going to a museum here in Nashville. It was an art museum. And I went up and I was talking to the ticket guy, and he said, "There is something in your eyes." He said, "I have never seen that before." And I said, "That was the Spirit of God. That's what it was," because I was so dead in my eyes for so many years, and the light of Christ couldn't shine through me. So I just wanted to relate that experience because it does start on the inside, and the inside is how the outside can be transformed. So I began to work on my spiritual and emotional recovery, and I started to release weight. The physical recovery started to come. And so because I was releasing weight, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on my clothes. And so I started shopping at thrift stores, estate sales, and my love of fashion returned because for so many years it was gone. And I was in what I've referred to before as Henley hell. And that was because I was wearing Henley shirts in every imaginable color, same type of pants, day in and day out. Now, I was in a profession that required business casual, so I couldn't step outside that fashion box too much. But once I rediscovered my love of fashion, I started to transform my style. So I wanted to talk today, for example, what I'm wearing today and how I've transformed this look from wearing a different look that I did with this hat that I'm wearing, which is one of my wearable art hats. I made it a few years ago, and I actually wore it to Nashville Fashion Week. So going to a fashion event's a lot different than, maybe our everyday lives, but the outfit I wore then was different than what I'm wearing today. And I wanted to tell you about that because the idea of taking one accessory and changing it up, you can do that. You don't have to go out and buy an entire wardrobe. So this hat, and I'm going to lean in a little bit. If you see, it's very fuzzy and it's very soft. And I decided to wear it yesterday to church. So I wore it with this vest, and it's very soft. It's shorter in the front and it's longer in the back. And I have just a plain shirt on it's velvet-like. Obviously, it's not real velvet, but I'm wearing leggings, and I wore some ankle boots. And so I was more in it was more of a casual look. And so I was able to do something completely different than really step out the fashion box when I wore it to Nashville Fashion Week. So I took the same hat that I had made so many years ago, and I changed up the look. And I also added some gold jewelry, and I've got them on right now. I've got some gold jewelry that was a gift, and I have this necklace on, which was my mother's, so it's very, very special to me. But it picks up the gold that's in, as you can see at the top, that's in the hat. And so I was able to transform a look. And everyone can step outside their comfort zone. I was in my comfort zone for so many years in a larger body that was in a fashion rut. And I don't think age or size or any excuse of different lifestyle change is an excuse to say, well, I don't care anymore. I've been there and I've come out of it. And style is a choice. It's a choice. And sometimes we get way too comfortable and we don't want to take the courage to step outside that fashion box. We might ask ourselves, what will people think? What if they give us a social media stoning? Have you ever seen a social media stoning? I like to call it a social media stoning because I've seen Christians stone other people, maybe people they don't know, about their fashion choices. And as you know, in the Bible, stoning was a way to keep the law and a way of repercussions for maybe an act of breaking the law. And so they would stone people, which is a horrible death. And they would kill people that way. That's the way the ancient world operated. And so for me, in a social media world, we're called to be the same as we are on social media as we are in person. And again, I've seen people make fun of people they didn't know, post pictures of fashion, people in different fashions, and I don't think that's a healthy thing to do. And so I say, no matter who you are, wear what you want. If you feel beautiful and you feel great in that item, go for it. God made us all different. And that's the beauty about fashion, is that it's creativity. It's like a blank canvas. It's one day at a time and you can change it up. So I say that if my style goes against the grain, so be it. I want to embrace every moment of life, and fashion is a way of expressing my inner being. And so I love to just switch it up. I am especially rebellious when it comes to dressing outside the fashion box at, say, a Christian church. And maybe that's because I'm a Christian and I feel like as a Christian, I should be able to dress the way I want. I'm part of the group. And even if I want to dress differently, I don't really care what others think. I remember a few years ago, there was a guy that I didn't know him very well, but he was a nice man and he gave a lot of service to the church. But, he started chastising me for wearing too much black. You need to wear color. I would love to see you in color. And I just told him to throw a shade somewhere else. I said, get away from me. I'm going to wear what I want. So being the stubborn person I was, that made me want to wear more black because it's my favorite color. And so I did. It made me very rebellious. But I'm only telling you that story in that just feel free to express yourself with your fashion. Don't let other people get you down about it. Have fun with it. Life is too short to let others dictate what we do or, how we feel about ourselves. Just have fun in life. Dress the way you want to dress, and don't let people tell you there's a right or wrong to it, because there really isn't. There isn't a right or wrong to fashion. It is subjective. So I encourage everyone to have courage, be yourself, and embrace your own style. Don't let others dictate you on what God has inspired you to wear. So if you like this video, I would appreciate a like on it. And I publish twice a week, so I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. And I hope that you have a fabulous, fashionable day.